Hello everyone, and welcome back to my allotment channel. I'm going to show you some alliums here, the Allium Harvest, and I'm going to take you to the allotment and see how things are going there. It's been a little while since my last video, but my cat Smudgy was ill for a while and then I had to put her down and my heart is broken. But life goes on. So here is the Carcassonne White. It is a hardneck. You can see that it is a hardneck. And I lost about 12 of them to white rot, but I'm still quite pleased with the result of this. And in this game, the expression some you win and some you lose is always appropriate. And over here is the next garlic, which I grew right next to it, same conditions. And these are the Provence White, and what a failure they've been. And this is last year's Provence White, just the end of it. You can see how large they are, though I harvested them a bit late. But I don't know what happened this year, but there have been some successes in the alliums as well, as shown by the Shallots. These are the Shallots, called Golden Gourmet, which is really a run-of-the-mill type, from a packet of Shallots, from a packet of sets from Wilko. And I've not tasted them yet, but I have swapped a bunch of them for some salads and I'm very pleased with them. And now I'm going to dry them in this bag, which I hope is appropriate and will work. I think I got 3 of those for £3 at a garden centre. And also the overwintering onions have been a success too, if I come down here. And those are the overwintering onions which I've strung up, and these are radar, and I'm really pleased with them. And now I'll take you to the allotment and let's have a look at the onions, the main crop onions. And I'm on the allotment on plot 2, and these are the main crop onions, and I am really pleased with them. They really are enormous. They've done very well. Just ignore the weeds, I haven't got round to that. And they're going over now. Some people recommend that you just lever up the bulb and let it dry here, but as we've had a few thefts from here, I'm not going to make it easy for the thieves. I'm going to take these up, take them home and dry them off there. As I move into the middle here, this was meant to be once my cutting garden, but you know, much as I love flowers in the house, I don't like cutting my flowers. So look at this one. I don't know what happened to this. I can't remember growing something like this before. It's enormous. What's that? Let's keep that on. The orange gladioli are not ones that I chose, they just came up, and I did get rid of a few of them, but because my colour scheme seems to be all pinks and blues, I thought maybe I'll just keep a bit of orange to brighten things up. And I'll show you later what the other half looks like, but I'll now get on to the tomatoes. And here are the tomatoes, doing just fine. And I've noticed that in Brandy Boy, and it's where it gets its genes from, Brandywine, that they tend to bifurcate. I know this is meant to be a cordon type and indeterminate type, where you take off the auxiliaries like this, the auxiliary little shoots, but it also splits in half, what I call bifurcating. And there's a tendency of a few of these tomatoes to do that. This is the first year I've grown Sakura, and that tends to do it as well. You can force it into a cordon by cutting off an awful lot of tomatoes, but I let it have part of its way and cut off the excess, which something like this I might do later on. But when we come back to the, if I come here, these rugby ones, they're just an ordinary cordon and very easy to keep as a cordon tomato. And look at the funny shapes that they've got here, which is really quite strange. But again, I haven't grown them before. And in the front, I have grown 2 courgettes called Tondo di Piacenza, and I think next year I'll only grow 1. I've not grown marrows this year because no one actually wants to eat marrows, and I only need a couple of them to make a curry twice a year. But look what I've got after just about 2 days. Very large, almost marrow-like courgettes. So I'm going to try to make that curry with some of these and see if I can give some away. But it is a nice courgette, normally sliced and fried in a little bit of garlic. And over here is the Benchmaster. Beans doing very well, and I'm pleased with them. And over here in the front I have some summer cabbage. This is Red Rookie over here, and that seems to be doing quite well, but I might not be ready to be harvested until about August. And over here is cabbage. Last year they all got eaten, though one of them here looks as if it's being eaten quite well. And the year before that I grew a couple successfully, and they really are a lovely crisp cabbage. And over here is cobra, which doesn't look to be growing so well, but it's given me lots of beans and I'm very pleased with them. And then this is the front of the supposedly cuttings flower garden, and I'm sure I didn't buy these white ones, but they've come up on something else that I bought. And I've got lots of borage that has seeded itself. And there's a program on Gardener's World which a woman had a nature garden, a wildlife garden for the bees and the butterflies, and she said that she'd heard some research or read some research where the borage replenished its sources of nectar, its stores of nectar, every 2 minutes, whereas comfrey takes 40 minutes. So no wonder the bees are here in plenty. And when this goes, I'll have some zinnias in its place. If I move around here, say some of the dahlias that are grown, they really are magnificent. And guess which is my favourite colour? I seem to have grown plants that I didn't realise were all the same colour. This is called Purple Blaze, not to get muddled up with the French lavender called Blazing Purple. And there is a Bishop of Canterbury, which I shall be moving out. And they are really beautiful, some of these. I do love flowers. And over this arch I have planted another kind of courgette called Tromba d'Albenga, which is like a tromboncino, and I'm not sure if you can see there's a little one just there. And I've also planted some Marketmore cucumbers, and I'm not sure if we're going to get much from them because I really have overcrowded this space so much. And next to the cobra beans are some Ramrod spring onions that I have grown in bunches. Far too many onions per bunch, but they are really doing quite well. I've given up on the carrots in the middle. Most of them died off, but I think I've got about 4 that might survive there. And on plot 2 I have a nice long row of brassicas. Over here are the early sprouting broccoli called Claret, and I'm really pleased with those. Those look to be doing quite well. And then here I have cottager's kale, which I've not grown before, and they grew quite well, which is more than I can say for the Hungry Gap, which is the only seedling that survived. And then some more cottager's kale. And this is the wildlife garden. Again, sorry my shadow will get in the way, and I keep meaning to clear out the little pond, and I've had some frogs in there already. Okay, 1 frog, but it's not moist enough at the sides, so I'm leaving, as my excuse, I'm leaving the weeds underneath the asparagus. They're very minor annual weeds. I'm leaving them till I cut the asparagus down when it turns yellow, and then I'll weed the whole thing. And then the berries have now gone over, and I filmed this just the following little video clip just about a week ago. I'm now on the berry patch on plot 1, and I did say that I would check out the boysenberries to see if they were worth growing. This year they have been growing and fruiting in abundance, and obviously last year they were a small plant, a younger plant, so they didn't do as well. But just look at these berries, and I've just been tasting a few, and they are soft, juicy, and sweet with a strong blackberry flavour. So yes, I would recommend boysenberries. And here in my back garden on the vegetable patch there are the Karaka Black Blackberries. And I'll just show them to you in detail. And there they are. They've got a lovely shape, very easy to pick. And they don't have a strong blackberry flavour. They are sweetish, they are very juicy, but they don't have as good a flavour as the boysenberries. But they're still lovely to grow and eat and use in jams and eat straight off the plant, or to freeze and use in smoothies. And these are the brassicas in my veggie garden at home, and I have a few sprouting broccolis, ordinary purple sprouting broccolis, and some calettes or kalettes, which I haven't tried before, so I shall be interested to see what they're like. But quite a bit of damage has been done by the darling little foxgloves for about 3 days in a row. They keep jumping on this like a trampoline, as in the John Lewis Christmas ad of a few years ago, and it's quite a lot of damage there. I had intended doing what Steve from Steve's Seaside Allotment has suggested, having a few plants close together just for the leaves, then a few others slightly separate for the Brussels sprouts, but I'm not sure they're going to be anything other than leaves. And over here the transplanted early red rhubarb's doing fine, planted a bit too close together to the champagne rhubarb, so there'll be some movement there. Here are the two blackcurrant bushes that I'm going to scrub out. They are one of the most tasty blackcurrants going, but I've had these bushes a few years now and I get a handful of lovely blackcurrants, but I'm afraid that's not good enough. The Timperley early is doing fine, that's going to be moved out a bit. The blackcurrant bush that was the most prolific was this Ben Lomond, and from that I got 4 pounds of blackcurrants and another which I made jam from, and another about £1.5 pounds which I've frozen for my smoothies. And then here I have the plum, Opal, which I've got a lot of plums from. The early plums are a bit bland, and then I read somewhere that if they don't get enough sun they will be bland, and towards the end they've improved their taste, but I still think I prefer Victoria, and I'll be making some jam from these as well as eating them fresh. Here is where you have the lure to get the male little flies that go into the fruit, and that's the second one I put in, but I lost the lure because we had so much very windy weather. But this is the first one I put in, and you can see the amount of flies that have been killed there, and I haven't had many little maggots in these fruits, and I haven't had much brown rot either, so I'm quite pleased with this year. And it seems this is just the first part, then you're meant to spray it with something, but I'm not going into that. I think this is fine for me. To the side of the brassicas are the perennial kale, the Taunton or Tauntondine perennial kale. The lovely kale plant that I had lasted about 6 years, and that's come down now, and these are its offspring. And I think I'm going to get a lot of lovely kale in winter from this. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and comment, and please don't forget the big butterfly count from the 17th of July to the 9th of August.